Hello guys and welcome to another MK Mobile video. Guys, today we are focusing on the top 10 best fighters in MK Mobile. You know, nobody can tell for certain what constitutes a good fighter, but for me a good fighter would be a character that is either perfect with his basic attacks without any block breaker, or once you give him a block breaker he becomes simply unstoppable. So I just want to mention one more thing before I jump into number 10, and this is that I will be excluding from this ranking characters such as MK level Shansung, MK level Noob Saibot and Cold War Scarlet because they were recently implemented in the game and I didn't have the opportunity to play a lot with them, so I don't have opinion on how good as fighters they are. So without any further ado, let us jump straight into number 10. Ranking at number 10, guys, is Ronin Kenshi, one of the first characters to be introduced in the game and one of the first characters to be promoted to Diamond in Update 2.0. Ronin Kenshi has close to perfect basic attacks. He always pushes enemies away from him, it doesn't matter whether they block or not. So that's really awesome. This allows him to keep on chaining his basic attacks combos. The only problem I have with Ronin Kenshi is that, you know, usually when you have a character who pushes enemies away after each combo ender, even if the enemies are blocking, you also want to expect unblockable special attacks from him, so that it doesn't matter whether you give him block break or not. Unfortunately for Kenshi, this is not the case for him, and I know that if he's blocking successfully an enemy special attack, then both of his special attacks will become unblockable, but as I mentioned before, this is not the general case. Coming in at number 9, guys, is Hellspawn Scorpion, another character who doesn't need any block breaker because his basic attack chaining is close to perfect. The only problem I have with Hellspawn Scorpion is that his special 1 isn't unblockable, and at this point it is not even lethal. It's really strange. And of course his special 2 is only partially unblockable. Apart from that, his basic attacks are close to perfect, he has very good chaining, relatively good speed, and in general it doesn't matter whether you give him block breaker or not because he will be good either way. Coming in at number 8 is MK11 Jade. Now this is the first entry of a character who isn't that great without block breakers. Let's face it, Jade isn't terrible without block breaking, but she really excels if you give her one. She becomes literally unstoppable force. Her special 1 is great, her special 2 is great, and one of her combo enders where she spins generates insane amount of power, and it will almost guarantee that you're going to eventually break the enemy's block. This is the reason why Jade ranks at number 8. Nightmare Jason is the character that is occupying number 7 in our ranking. Nightmare Jason has close to perfect chaining. He isn't really fast puncher, but his chaining is flawless. He always pushes enemies away, and if the enemy is cornered, he can do combo ender plus special 1 immediately and it will connect. It is very good looking, guys. So in general, Nightmare Jason, one of the best fighters in the game without any doubts, ranking at number 7. Ranking at number 6 is the Nightmare himself, the real Nightmare this time. This is Circle of Shadow Liu Kang. This character is literally everywhere, and recently I made a video on the top 10 most popular characters in the game, and this guy actually won. In order to evaluate, in order to find out who is the most popular character, I refreshed the team in Faction Wars 500 times, and Circle of Shadow Liu Kang was literally everywhere. And I would say that he's everywhere for a reason. He has very fast punching speed, very fast recovery speed, and those two factors compensate fully for his, let's say, imperfect chaining. And on top of that, his basic attacks hurt. He has very high lethal chance in Faction Wars, and this makes him one of the best fighters in MK Mobile. Coming in at number 5 is the guy himself, Classic Liu Kang, which I consider to be the best character in the game. Classic Liu Kang has very good basic attacks. Unfortunately, he does require Block Breaker in order for him to shine. Without Block Breaker, he is not that great, he cannot do this power generation that he requires, to keep chaining his special too. But if you give this guy Block Breaker, he becomes one of the greatest fighters in the game, and on top of that, he becomes one of the best boss killers in the game, which is something that shouldn't be underestimated. Ranking at number 4 is another boss killer, Undead Hunter Johnny Cage, or as currently known, Strike Force Johnny Cage. Let's face it, he's one of the greatest fighters in the game, however he also requires Block Breaker. Without Block Breaker he is not that strong, but once given one he becomes unstoppable. He's literally unstoppable, guys. He can defeat almost any team without taking a dent. This is how great as a fighter he is. And we shouldn't forget why he is a boss killer, because first of all he can snare and power gen on special 1, if of course he has the correct talent. And second of all, if your opponent is cornered by a Undead Hunter Johnny Cage, it is literally game over for him or her. Once your enemy is cornered, they can do nothing, you can just keep on chaining your basic attacks forever. Coming in at number 3 is probably the guy who all of you expected that is going to win, MK11 Scorpion. And now let me explain to you why I believe that MK11 Scorpion is not the greatest fighter in MK Mobile. You see, MK11 Scorpion excels with Block Breaker. If you give him Block Breaker, he becomes literally unstoppable. He can destroy entire teams without taking any damage whatsoever. He also have eventual Cripple on special 1, which makes him even better. However, the problem with MK11 Scorpion is that he isn't that effective against bosses. Not at all. He is okay against bosses, I would say, but not the greatest fighter against bosses. So this is the problem. And another problem, of course, is that he requires Block Breaker in order to shine. Without one, he isn't that effective, not at all. And with that said, it is time to jump into number 2. Number 2 and number 1, guys, switch their position in my head multiple times, but at the end of the day I decided that Classic Raiden is the guy who should be the runner-up of this episode. And to be honest with you, I'm currently playing almost exclusively Classic Raiden in survival mode and I'm enjoying it to the maximum. Reason being, he is the perfect fighter. He pushes enemies away if they are blocking, and on top of that he has 2 unblockable special attacks. He's simply incredible, and both of those special attacks have very useful buffs and debuffs at the same time. On top of that, he has Tag In attack, which gives him the time required in order for him to start doing his combos on his basic attacks. So the only problem with Classic Raiden is, well, he isn't just the winner, and that's the only problem with him. And with that said, I just wanna mention one honorable mention, guys, and this should be MK11 Raiden, another Raiden, who has pretty good basic attacks, very good basic attacks, but I really hate this character because he just has one combo ender, and this is really underwhelming for a diamond. And the winner of the video, guys, the character with the best basic attacks in MK Mobile, the absolute best fighter in MK Mobile is Injustice 2 Raiden. Let's face it, Injustice 2 Raiden has unbreakable combo, he is very fast puncher, he has flawless chaining, he always pushes enemies away, he has one Injustice 2 combo that generates insane amount of power, and that's the main difference between him and Classic Raiden, because Classic Raiden's second combo ender doesn't generate that much power, unfortunately for him. And if you happen to have Raiden's Brutality set, then Injustice 2 Raiden will generate even more power on almost any combo ender. So without any doubt, in my opinion, this is the best, absolute best fighter in the game. Not to mention he can be also very useful in boss fights. Probably again not the greatest fighter against bosses, but definitely one of the best fighters against bosses, especially if you have the required talents for Injustice 2 Raiden, and you all know which is the talent for this character. So let's summarize everything we said so far, guys. Injustice 2 Raiden has 2 unblockable special attacks, he doesn't require Block Breaker, his combo enders generates tons of power, and in general, he's simply a total boss. Okay guys, what is your ranking? Please remember that this video is totally biased and absolutely prejudiced, so if you disagree with me, please let me know down below in the comment section which in your opinion is the best fighter among the diamonds. With that said, also please don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. See you next time, guys. Take care and stay safe.
Perfect. Perfect.